There's a lot going on right now online, and so I figured the best thing to do right now is to talk about something that has nothing to do with any of it. And so for this video, we're going to be talking about a little drama surrounding someone by the name of ProZD. Now there's a good chance you actually know who this guy is. He's super funny. He was on Vine. He's a very well-known voice actor at this point. So to start this off, I figured to jog everyone's memory, I'm just going to show one of his clips that I personally loved growing up.
The city is doomed, Commander Fistfight. I've poisoned the water supply.
Actually, because you poisoned the water supply, we discovered that the city's pipe infrastructure is really severely outdated. So thank you for bringing our attention to that. Millions of people could have gotten really sick over the next few years. And finally, the pathogen you unleashed does give people mild diarrhea, but we found it also is a great source of vitamin C.
Okay, whatever. Take this!
You fixed my shoulder.
God damn it!
So yeah, he's been super well known for a lot of his skits. He's also a prolific voice actor. He's done a lot of really cool stuff. One of my personal favorites is he was the voice of the Beastmaster from Borderlands 3. But to get into the drama of this, recently ProZD ended up quitting Twitter. Now his Twitter is locked, but fortunately some people were able to screenshot it, so I'm just gonna show you screenshots from his last post. And here that is. He starts it off, "Hey y'all, this will be my last tweet on this platform. I will no longer be using Twitter after this." If you look at the replies of my latest announcement tweet, you'll see a lot of comments like this. He was replying to one of them on his account. "This has been going on for years now, and while the normal procedure has been to block and move on, I truly don't think Twitter is worth it anymore. In the past, I've expressed that I think diversity in casting is important. It's a complicated topic, but at the end of the day, I still stand by this. I think it's important for all voice actors to be given an equal opportunity, and I think there have been positive changes on that front. A lot of bad faith arguers have tried to paint this as me saying things I've never said. I have been reluctant to address this for years because I know a lot of these people will not listen to reason no matter what I say, and I have not wanted to add to this ongoing drama. Twitter especially is a cesspool for hatred, and it's been awful these past few years. But I think it's important for people to know that this has been happening. This is the last time I'll comment on any of this. Goodbye, Twitter. You truly suck ass." And the reason that he posted that and saying that he was getting off of Twitter, all that stuff, has to do with the recent announcement that ProZD would be voicing this character here, which, as you guys can see here, is definitely a white character, presumably French, based off the facial hair, but that's all I got. But let's move into getting more of that context. I'm gonna get right out the gate and say it right now. This is not a political video. We are not going to be addressing what is okay and what shouldn't be okay in terms of like diversity voice casting. Should people of a specific race be voice acting for characters that are not of that race? You guys can decide that in the comments. You can have those discussions as long as you keep it respectful, but that is not the focus of this video. We're gonna be going over that subject. We're going to be going over ProZD's feelings about it, all that. I'm not focused on that. I am focused strictly about what was said, what was done, and give you guys an accurate timeline. And to start that off, he's referencing that this has been going on for years. And as a matter of fact, back in 2023, there was quite a bit of drama surrounding this specific issue. Bizarrely enough, Know Your Meme has a pretty good page dedicated to this, or article, where they talk about this original controversy. Why is YouTuber ProZD receiving backlash for his opinions on race-based voice acting? The controversy explained. Now, it goes into detail, but at the very end, they include this video at the bottom. This is from Rev Says Desu, and like you can see here 1 year ago, or 2023, approaching 2 years, called "You Reap What You Sow." I'm going to include a few clips from this and try to break it down for you guys because there are some moments that I myself am a little bit confused, and I'd be curious to hear what you guys think, but let's get this started. I'm also going to kind of jump back and forth in this video, but that's because they do that themselves. They show this tweet first, but this actually needs a bit of context itself, but just wanted to make that clear. I'm not, taking them out of context here.
To understand this whole situation, we have to understand two things. We have to understand ProZD's opinion on how race of characters and voice actors matter, and to understand that, we have to understand some current situation taking place in the voice acting community, and it has to do with this right here. So, recently there's been some new Bleach dubs coming out, and one of the episodes, we saw an appearance by the voice actress Enyaris Quinones, who voiced the character Yoriichi. The reason this caused controversy is because the original voice actress for the character Yoriichi was a white woman. Now, the reason that this caused controversy is because she wanted to reprise the role of this character in the recent dubs. However, that was passed on to Quinones. And a lot of people believe it was following a narrative that is being pushed, and that narrative is the one we just talked about, where the color of the voice actor must match the character. So they thought, because the previous one was a white woman, that this would be a more appropriate hire. Now, a lot of people called this out, and eventually they would drop Quinones from the role and rehire Wendy Lee, who was the white woman who originally voiced the character well over a decade ago when Bleach first came out.
So that was like the meat and potatoes of what started this all. White voice actor Andy Lee reprising the role. It seemed like they went a different direction due to this like racial thing where they want someone who is the same like skin tone, same race as the person that they are portraying. This leads into ProZD interacting with this drama and then leading into that tweet that he had posted.
But nonetheless, there was some related threads like this, basically saying the same thing as Benoit. And ProZD would quote retweet this saying, "The recast was already unacceptable, but this is just the effing yikes on top." So he is saying that rehiring Wendy Lee is a massive yikes, and also that the whole thing was unacceptable. So he is clearly showing his supports of this narrative that the race of a voice actor should match the character they are playing. And also, these quotes down here are Wendy Lee arguing with people, which she made herself look pretty bad because she was arguing with a lot of people and she was pissed off about the situation.
Now, this specific part is where I'm not sure if that is the main thing that's going on here. They make the argument that ProZD is talking about this recast specifically and saying that that was unacceptable. I could just be stupid. Maybe I'm struggling to understand this correctly, but I feel like this could be taken two ways. One that's already been laid out by Rev here, or that he's talking about the recast being unacceptable in regard to casting somebody else as opposed to keeping Wendy Lee, who had already been doing it. Again, I can't see the original stuff. I was more interested to see if I could see like the replies to this tweet from him, but of course can't do that. But just want to make it clear that it could be him saying that this is a fucking yikes because of how Wendy Lee was dealing with other people on Twitter. But now that leads us into the tweet that you originally saw at the beginning from this time period back in 2023. And this one came literally the next day after what had just happened, about him like replying to this individual saying that this was the fucking yikes on top. There's a screenshot from those tweets. So I got an audition for Prominent Cartoon where I was sent just the Asian character. Looking through the rest, I told my agent, "Hey, I'm happy to read for this, but can I read for some of these others?" To which I was told all of those characters are drawn as white, so no. He follows up, "To add extra insult to injury, the character I got sent was labeled Middle Eastern, Southeast, or Southeast Asian, because, you know, that's all the same, right? You can just lump them all into one." My agent told me that this is just how some major studios are doing things now. Naysayers will go, "Oh, don't you want authentic casting? If your entire main cast is all white and you have one token side character who can apparently just be any type of Asian ever, this is not a level playing field." This is not new. For another show recently with a large cast of characters, I was only sent the audition sides for the character who exclusively speaks Mandarin. I don't speak Mandarin. It's demoralizing, and as much as I love voiceover, the future looks bleaker every day. And at the bottom, to be clear, this is not my agent's decision. They have sent me plenty of white characters before and have been nothing but supportive. This is what they were told by the people in charge of casting that show. Now, depending on, you know, which way you take the earlier tweet where he was responding to the drama that was going on, it could go either way here. A lot of people looked at this and said, "Hey, you're being really hypocritical. You're talking about, you know, showing clearly that you're bothered by inauthentic casting, like that, you know, they should be having people who are voice acting be the same race as the person that they are voicing for." But at the same time, here he is, you know, complaining that he's not able to read for other white characters. Now, two things to note here. Number one, I don't think that he's necessarily talking about complaining about not getting to read for the white characters. As a matter of fact, there's nothing that indicates here that he knew prior to his agent telling him that they were drawn as white, that he would have known that himself. And you can see here, all of those characters are drawn as white, so no, he wasn't saying, "Can I read for the white characters?" But on top of that, I wanted to also point this out. So in this blurb here where he says the character he got sent was labeled Middle Eastern, Southeast, or Southeast Asian, that's like lumping them all into one. I think he's misunderstanding what the point of that is. On one hand, yeah, maybe he's right. Maybe these studios are cool with anyone following those specific races to play, you know, the character they already have drawn up, in which case that is a bit peculiar. But the idea that popped into my head is that maybe they just hadn't like confirmed or finalized what the character was going to look like, and they were open to having that character be Middle Eastern, Southeast, or Southeast Asian. He doesn't tell us what the Prominent Cartoon is, so we won't know that ourselves. He could be spot on, but I think that's just another potential reason for why they did this. Now, the biggest reason that I think that this argument carries a bit of weight actually has to do with an interview that's been brought up a few times in regard to this drama, and as a matter of fact, been kind of resurfaced more recently. Now, I'm going to show you this twice. First, I'm going to show you it from Rev's video video and the clips from that, because it's kind of important to showcase that. And then I did find where the full interview kind of podcast thing happened, and I want to show you guys the context leading into it as well.
Now, for many people, a lot of people are saying, well, is this really how he feels? Just those simple quotes. Well, I'm going to show you a sample of an interview that ProZD took only a couple months ago, and this will solidify his stance on this whole issue regarding the race of voice actors and the characters they play.
Do you feel like your opportunities are limited? Do you feel like more opportunities would be open to you if you were, a white male, being by what you've seen so far?
I definitely would have more opportunities if I were white, for sure. There's no doubt about that. I mean, even comparing now to like, let's say like 5-10 years ago, it's definitely changed. Like, I think studios are much more aware of, hey, we should, cast authentically, so there have been some good steps. We still have a long way to go.
Now, there were a couple of posts that had gone around talking about this backlash that had been happening recently, like I was showing you at first. And even this post specifically, at the bottom here, it says, people are now accusing him advocating for only allowing voice actors voicing characters with the same races, which I couldn't find any proof he ever said that. Now, there's been a lot of back and forth about that clip specifically from that interview, saying that, well, actually leading into him answering that question, the person that was interviewing him had actually brought that up in the context of live action opportunities, where he would be, actually there, not just a voice. And so now I'm going to make a few cuts in it because there's a lot of long pauses, but I'm going to show you him asking the question leading into that to see his response.
Speaking of diversity and you now starting to venture out into live action acting, how do you feel about, I guess, you being, again, being Asian? Do you feel like your opportunities are limited? Do you feel like more opportunities would be open to you if you were, a white male, being by what you've seen so far?
I definitely would have more opportunities if I were white, for sure. There's no doubt about that. But I think there have been changes in a positive way. And not just for, Asians, but for all for different races, different genders, there have been steps and it has been improving. I mean, even comparing now to like, let's say like 5-10 years ago, it's definitely changed. Like, I think studios are much more aware of, hey, we should, cast authentically, so there have been some good steps. We still have a long way to go, and I'm just hoping that, as time goes on, more and more doors will open for, diverse talent.
So two things. It sounds like, based off what I'm hearing, obviously the person interviewing him is talking about live action, but ProZD very specifically talks about this authentic casting, this part specifically.
I think studios are much more aware of, hey, we should, cast authentically.
Again, could be wrong here, but I don't know how authentically casting would fall under, the point of him talking about this as if he was referencing live action acting. Because if it's live action, it means you are on display and that, like, you're going to be authentically cast because it's showing your own skin tone. It's showing your own race. This hinges on authentic casting relating directly to what we've kind of laid out already. But then I do think he responds to the question that was laid out, talking about live action towards the end.
More and more doors will open for, diverse talent.
This opening doors for more diverse talent, that sounds more in line with the argument that he was presenting when he was talking about, being frustrated with only having that one grouped up character, the token Asian character. And he's hoping that they're just going to create more roles like that. Or he's just hoping in general that there will be more like diverse roles at the ready for live action shows or movies. Now, the other perspective that I thought maybe ProZD missed out when I was talking earlier about how they were grouping it all into, these different Middle Eastern, Southeast Asian thing, I would say a piece of supporting evidence to that point is what they end up talking about next. This guy brings up that ProZD had voiced the Riddler in an animated show. And originally, this guy also thought that the Riddler was white, but that wasn't actually the case.
And you can do different voices for any kind of character. You actually did a voice for the Riddler. Which I should show people because you were very great at that. You had your own take on the Riddler right there.
Oh, it's a whole battalogue of disasters. Get it? Like catalog?
I get it, okay? I get it.
Now, I was looking at that Riddler right there. Was he is that an Asian Riddler or is that a is that a white Riddler?
That is an Asian Riddler.
Oh,
which
nice.
I don't think originally was intended. Like when I got the auditions, there was no mention of like, you know, an Asian. We're looking for an Asian actor. I think he was actually made Asian after I was cast, which was pretty cool. Like that's the first, you know, the first time we've had an Asian Riddler, which is awesome. So,
And to me, that was interesting that they didn't, you know, specify what the race is, and they hired on ProZD, and then they ended up shaping the character to also match. In that case, the Riddler ended up being Asian. And for me, that opens the door of this other side of things where they had listed all those different races because they were comfortable having the character match any of those races. I'm not making the point in this video that we should have authentic casting. We shouldn't either way. Feel free to have that discussion in the comments. But what I'm more interested in is that ProZD did say that it was positive. It was a good thing that they were focused on authentic casting, or that they were doing it more, which of course doesn't really seem to line up with kind of the crux of this whole thing, where ProZD is now going to be voice acting a white character. So going off of that information, could be seen that ProZD is being a bit of a hypocrite here. He's going ahead and auditioning and getting casted in roles that do not match his race, when previously he has advocated and shown support, or at least saying that the industry is heading in a positive direction by doing more authentic casting. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. And if you enjoyed this video, found it useful, informational, want to share it with other people, make sure to give this video a like. Helps boost it in the algorithm. And if you're new here, liking it, consider subscribing. We're on our way to hopefully hitting 100K by the end of the year. But regardless of if you do either of those things, just thank you for sticking around and watching, if you still are, and I'll see you guys later. Adios. Peace. Bye.